Hello, 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 and welcome back. It's Day and I Daily number 334, Part 3, where we're doing a half and half looking at oGsMC versus TSL Puma. Kind of a cute-looking game coming up, but we want to go ahead and examine it from the Terran point of view. Try to be identifying what our opponent is doing based upon what we see, what we need to worry about, what makes sense to us. Because I actually think that oGsMC put himself in a better situation, and Puma made some choices that I guess probably made sense on paper, but could lead us into some awkward spots. I don't know. We're going to find out coming up right now after I... Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, the coffee's worn off for the day. Alack, alas. Barracks going down. Nothing that interesting at this point in time, except that Puma has not done any scouting at all. But that's kind of getting more and more common these days, where you say to yourself, yeah, my build is not going to change, but the positions might have something to do with it much later. There's the factory going down for Puma. And he's just going to continue making Marines. This is kind of a funky play, I felt. This, I don't think, gets us any novel information. I mean, we almost always lose our SCV when the Stalker pops out. But we do see, okay, well, we see these two geysers going down. So I'm going to cross off ultra-fast early expands. He can do a kind of a normal sentry expand, but he's not going to be doing anything like Nexus on 20. Nexus on 20 is so boring. Alright, so we get in here and we see a Stargate. I think that our hand is somewhat forced at this point in time. This, I think, is brilliant. He doesn't run. He actually sits here and is going to just cuddle the Stargate until it's done. This is going to absorb a ton of damage. Also, by building the Hellion, we get the chance to pull every single Protoss unit to the factory. We can get a count on what kind of units he's building. If we see a lot of Stalkers incoming, I would probably be building a bunker. If we see some sentries incoming, I'd probably not be that worried about a big Stalker play that would kill me. So I probably wouldn't build a bunker. And now that the Stargate's done, yeah, I mean, this just didn't really get anything that notable. It did see the extra gateway. But yeah, at this moment in time, I think it's smart that he's left the factory here up until he sees the Phoenix building. Oh, God, why am I so tired? I hate being awake. Brr. So we are going to see Puma. He's throwing down the early combat shield, and this is something that I found to be really interesting, because if I actually rewind, this is something that Puma went for before the barracks. So look at this. This is, boom, combat shield goes down. Stargate not even done yet. And what else do we see from Puma? Well, this is weird. We see absolutely no additional barracks. So here's a question I had myself very, very early on. Watching these games, I just thought, man, what is with this? Why with the fast combat shield? I mean, he sees that his opponent is going for the fast Stargate. And what I want to do is I first want to answer why it would make sense to me against a fast Stargate. But then I also want to ask myself the same question. How does this work against like every other style of build that I could possibly be facing? So I think this is the logic that I want to go with. If my opponent is going for Void Rays, I'm obviously going to need to start building Vikings right away. I'm obviously going to need to begin building Marines right away. That seems to make sense to me. If I get Stim, I'm sure this has happened to many of you, where you start to get Stim, and what happens? Stim finishes right after all your Marines are dead from the Void Ray. And then one Marine pops out of the barracks, so you can stim it and shoot twice, and then it dies. And that was the use that you got to get out of stim. So I think a lot of players are starting to realize that if they get this combat shield early, not only is it shorter, it only takes 2 minutes, whereas stim takes about 3 minutes. Terrans are realizing, yeah, I can actually just get this up more than in time to deal with these Void Rays. So that seems to make sense to me. Also, on a follow-up note, if I begin getting any Marine upgrade early, if I begin getting Stim or Combat Shield up early, then I can push much sooner. For me, this is really feeling like I'm going to push right when I have Stim and Combat Shield. I want to see if that comes true. That feels right to me. So this doesn't feel like I'm going to have the most units, but I can push early. I love pushing early before bedtime. Oh my god, blood flow is not reaching the brain here, man. I'm going to have to actually just stand up and do some jumping jacks. I can't believe this. This is appalling. I might just come to the camera and do jumping jacks and continue to discuss this game.
Is under attack.
This seems pretty reasonable to me to make a Viking, just no matter what. Vikings are good for just general air coverage and support. You can kind of have your Viking poach a little far away from the Marines.
Upgrade complete.
But really, mistake from Puma. Is that a mistake? I mean, it means that we're really not doing anything out of the starport for a little while. I actually think... yeah, we probably could have gotten this gas just 15 seconds sooner. But look at this, here comes the stem. We're going to be able to push in 3 minutes, which is right around the time when we saw that push happen earlier. And I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this garbage. That's it. Guys, we're doing jumping jacks. Alright, you can join me if you want, but like... Alright, I'm just going to start. I need to get blood flow. Alright, I need to study this game. This is the silliest thing I've ever done on air, but my brain will not wake up. And you see the fur that I have underneath. Ugh. Wake up, brain. I don't know if you guys have ever done this for gaming, where your brain like sucks, and you just go sprint and then come back, and then your brain wakes up. Except I do jumping jacks because I want you to just see me look like an idiot. And now you're going to see that I'm out of shape because I'm like sweating now. It's like terrible. So this play, I'm feeling from Puma. I'm feeling it. This is feeling better and better over time, right? We're just getting our super duper strong Marines up. But one thing I'm actually most worried about is the fact that we have floated about 200 minerals for quite some time. We've been floating those minerals for a good bit of time. And that makes me think, yeah, we really could have gotten this second gas up early, which means we could have gotten this medevac up early. A push with 2 medevacs versus a push with 4 medevacs is a world of frickin' difference. So I'd want to see a little more of that. But notice that Puma is just very carefully moving out, is moving out at the exact same time that he scouts the front. He did a big long hook just to make certain that he could get that information about what my opponent was doing very, very early on and get himself a decent unit count. Because one thing that we said to ourselves when we watched from MC's point of view was, well, hell, if I'm going to open up Stargate, he has to play passive and build a bunch of Marines, so I don't need that many units. From the Terran standpoint, I would be thinking something like, okay, he's either going to stay low on units and expand, or he's going to stay high on units and not expand. So, from Puma's point of view, I think it's very sensible to just make this early push. It has only 1 medevac in it, and I think that it could have had 2 medevacs more. I think it could have had 3, maybe 4 total, had he just gotten this refinery a smidgy pigeon earlier. But I think reinforcing is also a bad idea now, just because of the obvious Phoenix nab. And what was the decision here that made Puma back off? What was it? Oh, okay, so he just pops in, gets a sentry count, and pulls right on back again. So he sees Zealot Sentry. That's the big thing that I'm thinking if I'm Puma. I'm not going to be up against Blink Stalkers. I'm going to be up against a really big, scary ground army. I don't think I'm going to be up against Colossi. If I do, I can just swap the starport with this barracks. Puma on the defensive. This actually shocks me a little bit. I would have expected these barracks to plop down a little bit earlier. Actually, before this engineering bay is what I would have most expected. These drops, I don't know how I feel about. I mean, we know he's not expanding. We know he's not expanding to mid. He might be expanding up here. Like, what the hell? Like, this feels like a... I'm trying to think about what gets accomplished from this. And we see a push forward from Puma here. That is a big-ass question for me. What the hell did this accomplish? Was that just a mistake? I mean, I can explain why it happened. Phoenixes come here, and then they arc back up this way. And when they do that, it's just like, oh, obvious, easy drop. It's no problem. But why? Why? I don't actually... I think I just want to straight up call that an incorrect decision from Puma. But based upon the fact that it looks like he saw a lot of Zealot Sentry, it looks like he's just going to go straight up for the big Marine Ghost play. And I'm thinking, again, what is this going to be good against? And what did we not see Protoss do? And how does this do against that? So Puma, if he sees Zealot Sentry, and the opponent is trying to go for, let's say, High Templar and Archons. Okay, if we go Mass Marine with Ghosts, we're going to knock everything down with EMPs and we're going to roll them. What if our opponent is going Zealot Sentry and into Colossus? Well, I guess what I would say is we can get some decent EMPs off, but most importantly, we have these reactors up. So we can give the starport a reactor very quickly. And we can even, hell, get 3 starports with reactors if we wanted to. 2 is generally what you see. The rest is a little bit overkill. But upon seeing these things, you're just guaranteed to be up against a little bit bigger of an army, especially this. And at this point, when I'm Puma, I'm just thinking, when is his third going down? As we can see, the third is just now starting. For me, an attack timing is right around the time that third's beginning to wrap up. So this attack timing makes a lot of sense to me as Puma. No drop. Why drop? We've seen Phoenixes on the map, and our opponent is currently only on 2 big locations, his main and his nat. The third is not so big because it hasn't really been running before. Keeping this army clustered makes a ton of sense to me. So obviously lands the sickest EMPs of all time. And we see the Zealot Archon force. And the instant I'm seeing this, I want to be less aggressive in a direct fashion. I want to wait for huge-ass armies and then move in and go for it. Zealot Archon is amazing in small numbers. Like, so amazing in small numbers. So this is fine. This is fine to chase down, because anytime you have a lot of units versus not a lot of units, it's good to try to go ahead and kill them. And, hey, look, he got the reactor port. So for me, because I've seen Zealot Archon... Alright, here's another principle that I'm feeling like the Terran could exploit. If my opponent is going for Zealot Archon, I'm going to wait for a huge army and then engage. Because Zealots get worse the bigger the numbers get, because then more Zealots are actually at the back trying to run around and hit something. Same with Archons. Most of the Archons are trying to run up and hit you, whereas the Marine Marauders are all going to be shooting. Marine Marauder will work better in big fights against that composition. But once we've traded armies, then it suddenly becomes really, really good to just drop in the main. If you've traded armies and you're both low on units, some drops are actually going to be quite strong. Still so many Marines. This is so cool. But I'm gonna be chilling if I'm in Puma's position. And how do I feel about these upgrades? Yeah, this was just the moment where I was like, wait, what? This is just like a lucky break for Puma. Just like kill a whole bunch of shit. It's like no problem. Yeah, and again, he trades armies. I'm gonna go ahead and go drop. This seems reasonable. The upgrades, you know, I guess my feeling towards the upgrades are, we're getting all this infrastructure out of the way early. The only thing there is left to do is the engineering bays. So, I guess I'm fine with the fact that they're super late. I mean, we're at 20 minutes almost, and we haven't even started the drop tech yet. Or not the drop tech. We haven't even started the upgrade for 2-2 yet. So I don't really. Nah. Yeah. Not putting guys back into gas. This is a surprisingly expensive style to be producing this many Marines. I might say to myself next time, cut back on one of these engineering bays, because it seems to me that we just have not used them because we're spending so much money on the ghosts. Or just when I get this third, I need to be doing a little bit more. Now see, this seems great to me. right when you're doing the, like right after you've traded armies, trying to do these kinds of little pushes, but as we can see, MC's macro is just a little bit too good. To be entirely honest, what I'm feeling is that TSL Puma got a little lucky with the fact that his opponent was clumped up so hard. With the timing of these pushes, I feel like some of the timings lined up throughout were not so great. I mean, I rewound because, hell, we were about to see the Terran army push and win because, again, this is our third run-through. But I'm actually quite curious about these upgrades. Is there a way that we could have snuck in more upgrades earlier? Because if you watch Thorzane play, Thorzane goes Marine, Marauder, Ghost, Medevac, and only attacks directly. Like, he just doesn't even do harassment, man. That boy is aggro. And part of me feels like, you know what, we should have been, as we were taking our third, we probably should have been going for better upgrades. I mean, this is just a little bit sloppy, don't you think? Where did all that money just disappear to? Yeah, these could have been started so much earlier. Are these things still queued up like crazy? I don't know. It looks like he just slowly... He's making plenty of medevacs. He's going to be tossing them out the window. Yeah, part of me is now starting to say to myself, I shouldn't have gotten that reactor starport to be non-stop producing so early, and instead should have favored getting the upgrades a lot earlier, because once I've seen my opponent going for that Zealot Archon mixture, I know that my big ghost engagements are going to be what I'm gearing up for, and big direct confrontations. It's going to be a little bit less about trying to be ninja and sneaky, because Zealot Archon is pretty good at crushing that. Or you're going to be better at crushing the Zealot Archon in a big direct engagement with upgrades. I have a lot of mixed opinions on the lateness of those upgrades. That final attack certainly worked out well for Puma, though. Whoa, you know what? Let's just take some questions because I got to cast HGL in 20 minutes. Alright, popping in. Starting the question grabber from Markio. Jack Ron, Markio. I'm refreshing. And some of these drops were okay. I mean, I just don't quite see how they gained him the advantage. I mean, maybe some of them worked on paper, but I don't know. So, here we go. Icebeast says, Dear Day 9, as Toss, how do you best counter dodge EMP when EMP and Snipe both outrange feedback? I mean, really the best thing is to just lead with those Templar, because technically the Ghosts will outrange it, but a lot of times the Terrans are kind of running in there, just leading with the Ghosts, maybe planting some scans. As long as, because the EMPs are much better versus clusters, obviously, and it's only 50 energy for a feedback, and you will generally have, like, a lot of Templar versus his not that many Ghosts. It's getting more and more common to do the big ghosting thing, but you can really rip apart a lot of Ghosts pretty quickly. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where if you land like a storm or two, you can really turn the tide of battle, so as long as you're just sort of sprinting ahead to kill it off. But I mean, the best technique is just to be really adamant with your Templar and to accept the fact that a good chunk of them are going to get taken out and be ready to turn them into those Templar. One of the most important concepts, I think, is also that your upgrades for Protoss are going to be helping you so tremendously much that you should try to be getting into engagements where he's a little bit behind on upgrades, and in that sense, the Templar are like your insurance. If he perfectly lands all those EMPs on every Templar, then it's an even battle, or you have a slight edge. If you hit any of those Templar feedbacks on the Ghost, you're just going to rip his frickin' head off. Rip his frickin' head off. Let's see here. Moose723 says, Dear Day 9, do you find it a good idea to not produce tanks when the number of zealots on the field is as high as it was in this game due to the threat of charge? Our resources, then ask a little bit more about the resources for getting a tank versus a factory. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those moments where, like, your build, the more important reason why tanks would be weak here is less the zealots and more that tanks really have never been part of the build up to this point, and they kind of don't quite satisfy any goal. Like, are you trying to secure more expansions? Well, if you wanted to be defending them with a lot of tanks, then you should have been meching earlier on in the first place, so you have a lot of tanks to be able to use that sort of defense. There's no unit that Protoss is making where you think, oh, a tank would fix this. Anytime you're making units, it's a solution to some problem that you've been having. Like, man, Archons are really strong. I guess I better make Ghosts. That's the the logical sort of step there. So with the tanks, I mean, it's really that completely ignoring what he's making. He could be going all Blink Stalker, and at 15 minutes into the game, someone might say, well, why don't you start making tanks? It's like, well, what do they really do? Marauders, Marines, and Medevacs are probably going to satisfy it a little bit better at this point in the game. That's the big thing that I would be going for. Taliesin says, Dear Day 9, why did MC go Archon because he had gateways? Storm was way late. Why not go Colossi to begin with? The big reason people go Zealot Archon is that it's really fast and really cheap in the mid game. It's one of those things where, let's say you need to get to 160 food fast. The fastest way to do it is to morph in units that are really cheap on minerals or really cheap on gas. Zealots, really cheap on gas. They require none. Archons, 300 gas, 100 minerals. They cost as much as a Zealot. So basically, you can get 8 gateways worth of production in building these cheap mixes. And then when you get a third base up, you can use these same 8 gateways to build expensive units, which would be Stalkers and Templar. The getting the Templar eventually is kind of a reason why, or is generally explained by Zealot Archon gets weaker once you get to huge numbers. So in huge numbers, if you have Storm there to be able to back it up, you're going to be in Happy Town, USA. I'm going to take one more question because I'm tired. Cogitum, or Cog-I-Tum says, Dear Day 9, how do you normally learn the builds possible for your enemies? A lot of gaming, or is there an easier way? It's going to take either a lot of replay watching or a lot of playing, but I don't want you to feel like you have to watch tons of tournaments and study a ton. What you can do is just play on the ladder only, and only in your own games come to these questions. There's nothing wrong with having categories that you haven't considered before. Here's a really standard one. As a Zerg player, when I was playing against Terrans, I would think to myself, okay, he's either going to be going for, 2 racks, and then he might early expand. Maybe he'll go for Banshees. Here are 2 different styles I've played against. And then let's say I play on the ladder against someone who's going mech, and I've never even considered mech before. That's fine. I'm going to wing it in the game. In the game, I'm even going to make sure I tell myself, it's okay to lose this one. What he's doing is really, really weird. And then afterwards, to step into that, and then to say, now that I know what this possibility is, how do I worry about it? This is true even for Bronze League players, who will lose to things and struggle against things that the Grandmasters will not. Let's say you're a Bronze Leaguer, and a Protoss who's going 1 base Immortal always kills you. Like 3 gate, 1 Immortal, just pushes you right away and crushes you. It doesn't matter if that's not something that pros deal with. That is a valid build in the game, and just write it down. When you make a new strategy, or you're working on a new strategy, just ask yourself, hey, does that 3 gate Immortal, does that kill me? Because the answer better be no. No matter how unusual or common or uncommon something is, you should just be allowing yourself to account for them all. I'm going to wrap this daily up, because I'm going to do the After Hours Gaming League in very soon. I'll be turning the stream off and then turning it back on again, too. Also, in very exciting news, Fun Day Monday next week is to be Terran. Lift off your command center and float it to somewhere else right at the start of the game. Ha! Submit that to monday@day9.tv. The last little bit of thing is that if you go to, I think I have this URL correct, bit.ly/day9store, bit.ly/day9store, Jinx, or Day9 t-shirts from Jinx, yeah. So if you purchase those, they directly support me. And of course, they will directly support your fashion sense. I need to go do some frickin' jumping jacks now, you guys. Holy crap, do I need to do jumping jacks. You guys take it super easy now. Super duper ultra easy.